Most of us are probably at home bored of our minds, not really knowing like what to do. But I'm about to share some stories with you guys with people in the past, especially famous people that have definitely strived during the time of global crisis. Hi you guys, my name is Tino, and if you're new to my channel, do make sure you click that subscribe button and make sure you do like this video if you like today's content. What I'm going to be talking about is primarily everyone's at home right now just wondering what to do and trying to figure out new ways to actually improve themselves or possibly even try out some products while they're at home. But I do understand a lot of people are, of course, anxious just to leave the house and get out. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's the case. I do understand how you guys feel. And I'm just going to share, of course, a couple of stories just from a couple of people that went through the same thing that we did. And I found it very interesting that some of these people actually really went through almost the same exact thing where they did go on quarantine and some of their greatest work did come out of this quarantine that they did go through. So the interesting thing is it's the same situation, but unfortunately they didn't have access to the internet and TikTok. So starting off with number one was the most interesting for me just because, again, it's very relatable, was none other than Sir Isaac Newton. So Isaac Newton actually went through, of course, a stay-at-home order, and the interesting thing is he actually used the time to really benefit himself, and he stayed at home and really thought about gravity. So that's the crazy thing. He was just about shy of 23. So at the age of 23, he was considered to be at his prime. And so he stayed at home and made discoveries, and actually a lot of his big embodiments came from, of course, the stay-at-home order. And this stay-at-home order almost lasted 2 years. So if you guys are thinking, of course, all the way from March until now, you know, of course, that's not a long time, but compared to what Isaac Newton went through, it definitely was tremendous. And I definitely do give him condolences on being stuck at home for 2 years. I couldn't imagine. But yet at the same time, it shows you if you guys really do use your time, of course, wisely, rather than, of course, just dreading every day, of course, going through the internet and doing multiple things, then it will come to actually benefit you in multiple ways. You guys are probably familiar with Tesla, Nikola Tesla. Another really interesting person. This one caught me by surprise because who would have ever known? If you guys are possibly familiar with Nikola Tesla, then of course you guys are gonna really enjoy this one just because the story I found was to be, of course, very interesting just because of what he went through and, of course, the journey that he did endure. In a town that his parents lived in, they definitely did go through, of course, a crisis. I don't think it was as bad going back to Isaac Newton, but he definitely went through, of course, some difficulties. And again, you guys are probably familiar with Nikola Tesla. He definitely was the Elon Musk of his time. But just when he was finishing up high school, many years ago, chlorella was flourishing through the city of Croatia. His father, when he finished, offered him to go on a shooting expedition, which surprisingly he denied the offer, and the reason why was just because a deadly plague was reeking through the city. And so surprisingly, again, these stories are very relatable just because of the fact that back then, a lot of people were going out and doing things. They had, of course, the stay-at-home recommendations, but they weren't really instructed upon the people. And so what people were doing were they were going out to drink, and unfortunately what happened was it came back to, of course, come back and bite them in the butt. Let's just put it like that. And people were dying just massively. It was just, of course, very traumatic. And now you see that in today's society where, of course, people are unfortunately more afraid of leaving the house and things of that nature. But the thing is, of course, how he was describing the time was definitely, he was in awe just because of the fact that people were just living their lives, of course, being ignorant to the whole situation. So they were doubting that this virus, this plague was actually going around wreaking havoc. But then yet Nikola was, of course, reluctant on going on this expedition with his dad. And what he decided to do was he decided to stay at home. And of course, he held going off and continuing his studies. He wanted to be an engineer, but of course, he wanted to stay away from deadly viruses. So he decided to, of course, wait out, and eventually it came to pass. And again, it's definitely one of those really interesting stories. And the reason why I'm really primarily just sharing these stories is just because of the relation in today's situation. So one thing that I like to look at is how history sometimes typically tends to repeat itself, but I think the best thing that we can do really is always to learn from history. These visionaries went through the same thing that we're going through today, and they're showing us the mistakes that we're making today as well too, and yet we're years ahead of them, you guys. And so I just want to share those stories. I hope they definitely do enlighten you, and 2020 can still be your year. Of course, you do want to use it to your advantage. Unfortunately, I only have 2. And again, if you guys did like today's video, make sure you do smash that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video for the algorithm, because, you know, of course, we want to make sure this video continues to gain relevancy, because of course, these are interesting stories. But I do recommend you guys do your own research as well too, just because, you know, this isn't the first time this happened. But if you guys are ever looking for inspiration, definitely look at the past, because the past will definitely help you write a better future. So again, 2020 is still your year. Make sure you like this video so it can be my year too. So again, my name is Tino, you guys, and thank you for coming on my channel. Until the next time.